Back in the late 2000s, Canon brought affordable large sensor video to the masses with the introduction of the 5D Mark II and 7D. And while the image you could get was great, shooting video with them was full of compromises, as they were stills cameras that people were trying to make work in video and cinema workflows. So in 2011, Canon introduced their Cinema EOS line, with the first camera being the legendary original C300. This special camera helped define what is considered a run-and-gun cinema camera today, and has helped shape the direction of video cameras for years to come. The C300 was a response to the huge demand for large sensor digital cameras that were designed for shooting video that could slide into existing broadcast and cinema workflows. The C300 was special as it could shoot Full HD 50 megabits a second 8-bit 422, which was the spec required for broadcast HD acquisition. While the camera could only capture up to Full HD, the sensor used in the C300 was actually 4K, so it was downsampling in camera when recording in Full HD, which helped produce the great image it became known for at the time, while still being easy to manage in post, as post-production really wasn't ready for the increased data rates associated with 4K and above. I remember shooting some of my first broadcast work on the C300 back in the day, and it was incredibly popular in this market. But it was also really popular in studios, for run-and-gun documentary, and corporate and branded content. It was an absolute workhorse, and up until 2014 was the industry standard for this type of work. However, in 2014, Sony released the FS7, which took the industry by storm with its fantastic ergonomics, 4K recording options, and good dynamic range. In response to the success of the FS7, Canon released the C300 Mark II in 2015. While there were plenty of productions that used the C300 Mark II, the FS7 offered a lot for a good chunk less, which often made it the choice for owner-ops or rental customers on a tight budget. However, the Mark II featured solid internal recording options, 4K 42 10-bit, a good autofocus system, and Canon's fantastic colour science. The C300 Mark III was released back in 2020, and it's still one of our favourite cameras on the market currently. So let's take a look why, and explore what's made the C300 so popular over the years. Canon are known for their slightly warmer image and great skin tones, and the C300 has always followed that trend. Throughout the three cameras, the image has always been appreciated for that, and each of these cameras can still produce great imagery. However, the Mark III really is something special. The 4K Super 35 sensor Canon have used in it, and the C70, is absolutely excellent. It has a physical size of 26.2mm by 13.8mm and a native ISO of 800 in C-Log2. You can record up to DCI 4K, which uses the full Super 35 sensor. Canon is claiming that this sensor can capture up to 16 stops of dynamic range, and this is partly due to the implementation of the technique known as dual gain output. This isn't a new technique, and is used by arguably the most popular digital cinematography camera ever made, the Arri Alexa. Canon haven't gone into super detail about how they have implemented this technique, but they have stated that the sensor has a saturation prioritizing amplifier for brighter areas and a noise prioritizing amplifier for darker areas, which results in higher dynamic range and lower noise. However, one thing to be aware is that this dual gain output is only available when shooting at 60 frames per second and below. Canon has also said that the optimum setting for this mode is ISO 800 in C-Log2. So this means that the sensor really does have solid dynamic range, and personally I would take a better looking Super 35 sensor over a lesser full frame one any day. We've shot a bunch with the C300 Mark III and the C70, and the image that this sensor can capture really is excellent. It can look great very easily with minimal grading, or be heavily pushed when in the right recording format and log. The C300 has always had some pretty great quality of life features that have made it great to use. This includes the fantastic built-in ND system, as well as dual XLR ports, which are great for documentary and run-and-gun filmmakers. While people loved the image that the 7D and the 5D Mark II could kick out, the big downsides of using these cameras was that they were not designed to shoot video, whereas the C300 clearly is. This means that they've always had more cine and broadcast features and outputs which are needed for these productions. The C300 line of cameras has always had a very distinct physical design with a few key features that have always been present. It's much more boxy and short than some of its contemporaries, but once you add on the removable top handle and monitor, the camera can get quite tall quite quickly, which did mean shoulder operation required reworking the monitor into a better position with some rigging. However, for handheld use, it was pretty much good to go out of the box. The monitor on the Mark I and the Mark II had the camera's two XLR ports on it, which did make it challenging to rig sometimes. I remember demoing the Mark II when I started at CVP, and rigging it up for shoulder use was always a request and a challenge. Luckily with the Mark III, the monitor is separate and can be easily reconfigured thanks to the Q20 thread on it. The XLR ports are now on the body as well, which is a much better choice. However, it does take some time to get used to having the audio controls on the right hand side of the body on the Mark III. On the previous two cameras, you had cables for video and audio going from the monitor module to the camera, which did become a real pain to manage sometimes. The design of the camera's button layout and menu is great. It's really easy to use, and I personally find the menu system much easier to use and navigate than some others on the market. It's a camera that's clearly been designed for a solo operator to use handheld and be able to control everything fast with the great range of buttons across its body. This design hasn't changed too much over the years, so if you've ever used a C300 before, you'll feel at home operating pretty much every other Cinema EOS camera out there. The Mark III is also a far more modular camera than its predecessors. It starts out of the box pretty small, which is good for getting onto more gimbal configurations, but there are a few optional extension units which offer a range of extra features depending on what you need, which can easily make it a bit bigger. The EUV2 is probably the more general out of the three extension units, and I think it's a great addition for balancing the camera on your shoulder as well. The C300s have always had a viewfinder built into them, which solo operator documentary shooters have always appreciated. However, with the Mark III, the EVF is optional, but it's good that you have the option at least. They've also always had dual card slots, which again, for applications when you are shooting stuff that may only happen once in front of you, shooting it back up to a second card is a great thing for peace of mind. This has been possible since the first C300 and is still the case on the Mark III. These cameras have been in every environmental condition that you could imagine, and have lived to tell the tale. They are incredibly well made, which is perfect for documentary filmmakers. Canon has led the way with autofocus for years, and every single C300 camera has had an autofocus system in it. While the Mark I's was a bit primitive, the Mark II introduced their dual pixel system, but the Mark I did eventually receive a paid dual pixel autofocus firmware update. However, the Mark II was a big step up over the Mark I, and the Mark III system is also excellent. But the system in the Mark III is now outdated when you compare it to cameras like the R6 Mark II. Having the ability to put high quality EF lenses onto this type of camera body has been a big part of what has made these cameras so popular for run and gun and documentary filmmakers for years. While the C300 Mark III autofocus is good and will be more than enough for most people, I am excited to see a Canon cinema camera with their cutting edge system and RF mount now that EF is on the way out. The C300 Mark III is a couple of years old now, but has seen its price drop throughout that time. The C70 can do so much that the C300 Mark III can, with really only a few things removed from it. However, the main difference between the two is the physical design and the I/O that they have. The C300 is clearly designed at more professional and broadcast orientated shooting, features that crucial SDI output, and arguably has a better form factor to work with, but this is subjective. However, given the massive price difference between the two, the C70 for some could be a better choice. It's smaller, lighter, and uses Canon's modern RF lens mount. But for some, the extra features of the C300 Mark III will make sense for their business. But if you want to chat through exactly what's best for you, please don't hesitate to reach out to us via the details in the description below. The original C300 can actually be had on our website at the moment for about £462, which is an incredible price if you're happy with the 1080p limitation it has. The C300 Mark II normally trades at roughly £3,000, which I think is due to the fact that it can still deliver great looking 4K results. If you have any more questions or thoughts about the Canon C300, let us know in the comments. And if you liked the video, please give it a like and maybe consider subscribing so you don't miss out on our awesome upcoming content. And thank you so much for watching.